as Wilco makes a run ahead of him. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland show. I think you're number 23. You are the Sol Campbell of the Predictions League. I should have done that before.
I'll take that. I'll take it.
There, I've completely wasted it. 23 shows in before I start telling people what shirt numbers they were. Or you could be Andre Arshavin. That's a 23. But you're gonna pick Sol Campbell, are you?
I'll take Sol Campbell all day long.
Lovely, jubbly. With me this afternoon, tonight, I forget what time of day it is. It's Ryan from the Mr. Arsenal podcast. How are you doing, Cheeky Chops?
I am fantastic. Looking forward to the new season. Can't wait for Sunday as well. Try and put one up the banks on Sunday.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. Unlike a few people we know, but it is what it is.
Have you got someone who's a Bradford fan?
Oh, he's an Arsenal fan, but he changes it because he's a regular of my channel. Basically, we have a Leeds fan. He likes to wind him up every now and then, so he changes his profile pictures of Bradford City just to wind him up.
I mean, are Bradford even a club anymore? I don't know. It's been a while since they've done anything.
League One, League Two, I don't know. Well, Mark Hughes is their manager, so that says a lot about Bradford City.
Of course he is. I remember that. Phil Macker is there, and Jimmy is there. Afternoon, gentlemen. Ryan, tell people about your podcast and the kind of stuff you've been getting up to lately, because you've been a busy man with the Women's World Cup.
Yeah, it's not going to get the longer these girls are in it, they ain't going to get any more quiet, especially now the new season ahead as well for the men. Because they're very hectic on my channel. But basically, yeah, it is what it is in terms of it is initially the Mr. Arsenal podcast. We do podcasts. Now you're going to 2 podcasts a week, one with me and my panel of guests. We'll talk about obviously the events of the week in terms of the Arsenal men's situation, be it match days teams in terms of a particular result. I.e., next weekend when we play Forest, we'll do a podcast on the Sunday or whatever. Go through the highs and lows of that week to week. I do the watch songs like you mentioned as well for both men and the women's team, and it's going to be, as I say, very hectic now because both teams, both our men's and women's, for the first time in a long time actually, are in the Champions League. So when the WSL, the women's football, gets underway again, it'll be October time, and that's going to be when it all gets very fast. And I'm not going to have a break, but it is what it is. And I enjoy what I do. End of the day, and the women's side of things, I'd watch it off air anyway. So I might as well come on with like-minded football fans and Arsenal fans and watch it with people and grow that audience and spread the word that the women's game is getting better. It is growing. It is going in the right direction, and this is the people we need to look out for, etc., etc. And remind people that we are the only club in football history, men's or women's, to win a quadruple in one season. That would be the Champions League, FA Cup, League and League Cup with Vic Akers back in 2006-07 season.
Yes, it's way back in the day when ABW first started. We did a little segment called Arsenal Scores on the Doors, and we used to talk about the women's football. It's 10 years ago when they were just on the verge of not being good anymore. And then we used to do the under-21s, the under-18s and the ladies. And then for some, I think people got bored of it, so we moved it towards the end of the show. And then the next season we forgot to do it, and we haven't done it ever since. So maybe it's something I should bring back. Just a little update where they are in the league, who they played, and who the goal scorers were. But it's good to see that we had Richard on before from over and over again, and he was saying a similar kind of thing. That he's had a busy time talking about the ladies' football, which is good. Keeps you out of mischief, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And also, apart from, as you say, me and Richard, not many other channels nowadays cover the women's game. Even now, even with the success of how it is starting to grow and going in the right direction, it's still not being covered by the biggest YouTube channel out there, Arsenal-wise, anyway, so-called.
Mm-hmm.
There's a niche. We both jumped on it, and it seems to be our most popular segment on our channel in terms of viewership and new subs coming in regularly.
Yeah.
So can't complain really on that side of things.
Well, you could complain, but you'd be a bit miserable to have a moan about that.
Yes, well,
So
I'll be
let's
living
have
in Spain if that's the case.
yes, let's have a little look at the screen up, and I'm going to ask you the usual questions, and I would like some answers. So you have Mr. Arsenal 89. You have that tattooed on quite a few places all over your body in case you ever get kidnapped and chopped up. They'll know who you are. I've heard that. That's very wise of you. And so who are you going to pick for Premier League champions? Are you going to surprise me here? Because so far, it's only been 2 teams predicted. Are you going to break the trend?
I'm not, but I am going to be sticking one or two. You mentioned it. I'm going for the Arsenal.
How dare you, sir? Go on, explain yourself for your crazy predictions.
I'm not basing it off performances in pre-season because that's more so pre-season games itself is more getting their fitness up and getting them ready for next week now.
Yeah,
it's more how aggressive we've been from the get-go in this transfer window. Kai Havertz, again, we all have our opinions on Kai Havertz when we got linked to him. It happened. I've said even though I weren't jumping for joy, I can see why, and I can see the potential if we can get the Kai Havertz we saw at Leverkusen, we see at Germany regularly. I think we've got a player there. I think his playing style is more suited to Arsenal anyway. Never suited to Chelsea, and people was too quick to write him off because of the Chelsea connection. But it is what it is. Declan Rice, bringing him in, Premier League proven, young, got years ahead of him, to replace Granit makes sense. We've strengthened it again. If anything, it's an upgrade, and that's saying something on Granit because Granit last season was one of our best players. And as I say, with Declan, he's got years ahead of him. Timber, when David Ornstein dropped that tweet that night 2 months ago, I genuinely was excited because I've seen this player play, and I think he is fantastic. And what we've seen of him pre-season in spurts. I'm genuinely excited. We've got again, it provides competition for Ben White, and how much that means. That obviously means as well, positives wise, Cedric's out the door. Hopefully, some point this window, probably on deadline day. But we're just being aggressive. We're not just making signings for the sake of it. We're making signings that make sense to what we need to strengthen, and we haven't stopped. Even though it's been quiet. We haven't brought anyone in since Declan. We're now looking at bringing David Raya. Everyone's losing their mind in terms of that must mean the end for Ramsdale. Not necessarily. Again, competition. What's wrong with having? Again, what's wrong with having competition for all positions? It's all well and good having competition. Otherwise, right back, left back, centre backs, midfield, you're attacking all that. But if you ain't got competition in goal, the goalkeepers will get feet up on the beach. I can make a mistake. I'm undroppable. He needs to know he's kept on his toes as well. I think as okay as Turner is, and he is an okay goalkeeper, he isn't good enough to keep Ramsdale on his toes consistently to make him think, oh, if I drop my guard here, he's going to come in and take my spot. Because just an example, remember when Lehman eventually got dropped in? We had Almunia for how many years?
Oh Jesus! Yes.
And look who the backup. Look who the competition for him was initially: a young Fabianski and a young Szczesny.
Yeah.
So I'm not losing my heart. Again, I think it's healthy to have someone there in the wings. Again, experienced. He's 28 next month as well, Vaya. Just to be there, keep him on his toes. And I saw a video this morning where he did it on a podcast back in the last season. He's saying the goalkeeping unit is unique to itself. It needs to be everyone likes each other. Everyone's pushing each other, keeping each other on their toes, and that's what you want. And I think he knows that he's coming in to be the number 2, but also but he's there ready if Ramsdale was to do a layman basically and drop his guard basically.
Does make sense. It would be nice to because I don't rate Turner, and we definitely don't rate Runnison, and Carl Hine isn't any good, and Nkonkwo's too young. So yes. Good idea. I agree with that. So you've obviously got Arsenal finishing first. So that one's, I don't have to ask you that. Arsenal top goal scorer at all competitions.
I've seen a few names. Obviously, the main one being Bergkamp, and I get why, because obviously the last 2 years he has been our top goal scorer for the last 2 years.
So are you picking?
Before the injury, heard about with the fluid that's been taken out of Jesus, I would have said Jesus, but I think he's going to need a bit of time to adapt again. I'm going to go Saka again. I think he's going to do 3 years on the trot because he's got Champions League. He's got Champions League football as well, so that's going to. We've seen him without European football the first season, with European last year, and that's with Europa League. I think he's going to be even more now in Champions League. I mean, look at the goals he scored for England back into the season against Ukraine at Old Trafford. He's just getting better and better. There doesn't seem to be any point. We can't. There's no ceiling yet for him still, and he's been playing for us how many years?
He's 21, and he's already scored more goals for England than Gazza did or John Barnes did.
Already,
two players that people look and say they were two wonderful England players. Where have you got Spurs finishing?
Now, this is the interesting one. I think even with if Kane was to stay, 10th, even with his goals, I think 10th. Without him, 15th. I'm going to go for 15th.
So if you had to stick to one, what are you going to pick?
15th, because I think he will go. And we
Back to the glory days.
Last season, Kane had 30 goals in the league alone, and they came 8th. Take his goals out, where would they have been last season? Bottom half of the league, pushing for relegation. And I was just thinking about, I can't see him staying, because Bayern Munich's too much of a law in terms of their guaranteed trophies domestically, and they actually compete for the Champions League. And they won't replace him. Even the money they get for him now, they won't replace him. It'll be that Brazilian pigeon up top, and he's hardly a threat up top, is he? So
well, that is a point. So no Brazilian pigeon. Are you going to go? I mean, he got a hat-trick pre-season against some part-time binmen, but that's not good enough. It's hilarious. Are you going to go for FA Cup winner?
Arsenal.
Oh, a cheeky double. You'd be surprised the number of people that have put us down for the double.
And it's been too long. 2002 is too long.
Yeah. Man City seem to do it whenever they fancy it. So why not? How about League Cup? What have you got for that?
I'm going to go for Newcastle. I think they're going to want to right the wrong of last season and go one better in that competition just to get themselves kick-starting. And then obviously they're going to do that dynasty of what Man City have done over the years. But I think Newcastle.
Nice. Well, I shall add that into it. Quite a few people have gone for Newcastle. Now then, Champions League. Are you putting this down for the treble?
Sadly, not. If we'd been in this competition, we hadn't fallen out of this competition the way we had done for the last 6 or 7 years. It's been now.
Yeah.
I'd say I'll put us up there, but I think a couple of seasons too early for us in terms of winning it. I think we need to bet ourselves in quarterfinals at best. Semis would be fantastic, obviously, but for our first season back, I think quarterfinals would be good for us, and we can assess ourselves from there on in. But in terms of winning it, I know a lot of people are saying City again, but I think that's like an easy option. Real Madrid. I don't see Real Madrid winning it. Honestly, they've lost Benzema, but they're losing a lot of their key players now. They're in the start of a rebuild in the midfield, in their defence and attack. So I don't see them winning it. I don't see PSG winning it. I don't know what Richard was on. They're losing Mbappe for a start. They've lost Messi. So they're going to have his name up top. No, he's not. It's not going to happen there. Sorry, Richard. I'm going to go Bayern Munich.
Bayern München.
Especially if they do get Kane in. Because I think he'll be that fit. He'll be what they missed last year, the Lewandowski. About Lewandowski, look how they just got over the line last year domestically.
Yes, that's true. I mean, he's going to have to go somewhere. He isn't going to stay there, and they're just holding out to see how much they can get, and it'll end up being a nightmare because then they won't be able to get any players in to replace him. How about top goal scorer at all competitions? What are you going to go for? Are you going to have you got the nerve to step away from Haaland, or are you going to go Nkunku or Martinelli or Rashford or even Erdegaard? What have you got?
I'm backing our star boy Saka again.
Oh, you reckon he's going to score more goals than Haaland?
In all competitions.
Haaland's
Why
got
not?
52 goals last season.
I know that, but again, they won. My basis on it is with Man City as well.
Yeah.
Is they've won the treble and all that, and I think especially with Haaland and just his first season doing what he's achieved.
Yes.
I think a bit of cockiness might come into their play, and I think they may make a few. They'll miss chances they shouldn't. They'll lose games they shouldn't. They'll drop in all comps. He'll miss chances he'll miss chances he was scoring last season. This coming season, and I think Saka. Again, like I said before, in terms of him being our general top goal scorer, I think every year he's getting better and better. And I don't think that Arthur Haaland scares him in terms of having that ambition to go and get that golden boot.
I mean, I've worked out that if we get to the final of everything, we will play 64 games next season. Yeah. We're not obviously going to get to the final of everything. So I think it's going to be 55, 56 games. And if he scores a goal every other game, he could get 25, 30 goals. So you could well be right. Ange B has says hit the thumbs up and subscribed. So one is current tense, one is past tense, but hopefully they're both cut. Oh, right, Betty, calm down, dear. She's rolling around my desk. Don't you Trump? She's looking at me in a way. So Ange, thank you very much for subscribing. That's one we've had this year. Lovely. Colonel Ward is there and Rudy is there as always. Bayern will bottle it without Kane. Well, yeah, because they are not very good. Hopefully next season, because I want Borussia Dortmund to actually do something for once. They nearly did it last season. They should have been in the last game of the season. Can't believe you didn't back Eddie. You want to talk about Eddie with 55 goals? Absolutely not. I wouldn't trust Eddie to score 55 goals on amateur mode on FIFA, let alone in real life. What are you going to go for the winner of the championship then?
I'm going to go for one that's already been picked. Middlesbrough. I think Michael Carrick, the job he's done since coming in from his name now, the former Sheffield United man, Chris Wilder. Since job he came, his first senior job, and he got him playing good football. He got a tune out of Chuba, former academy player of ours as well.
Yeah, chopper.
And I just think the agony not getting through them playoffs will spur them on, and I think they're the most ready equipped to get promoted, win the championship itself. Out of the three gone down, I don't know the current score for Southampton, by the way, but I can't see Leicester coming up.
Friday night, first game of the season, Southampton are winning 1-0.
It's still 1-0, is it? Okay.
Yes, I forgot the season started already. Nice.
Yeah, I think out of the three, Leeds, because of who their manager is, I think Leeds might have more chance. I think they'll be in the playoffs though.
Yeah, Russell Martin is their manager. They're new manager for the new season. So many teams in that division have got new managers, including the team I've picked, Leeds, because they've kept most of their decent players. And he is managed by Farker, who was manager of Norwich and won promotion twice. So they've got the man who knows what to do. But Middlesbrough's a fair shout. Now, final question: first Premier League manager to be fired, sacked, kicked out, shown the door.
Again, I would have until I got the information I've got today. I would have gone Locatelli from Wolves because again there's a bit of backbiting back end of last season between him and the owners. They've sold their striker Raul Jimenez to Fulham, a potential rival of theirs next season. They're not strengthening their squad and all that. And I just think I just thought it would have come to a head. But the information I'm getting today, that there's a bit of a standoff at West Ham between the owner and David Moyes because again they've sold their best. They've won a European competition, sold their best player to a London rival and us, and they haven't brought no one in. And apparently there's a bit of a standoff in, and David Moyes could be that man. I think with that, I think David Moyes will be the first to go. Within 2 to 3 weeks, he'll be gone.
2 to 3 weeks. Wow, things are gonna be that bad. So, Mr. Moyes of West Ham, you say, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. That's what I thought. Right, some interesting ones there. You've gone Saka, which nobody else has gone. only one other person said Bayern Munich for the Champions League. Spurs are 15th. That's the lowest we've had. The next highest is Mike from Gunnerstown, Mike McDonald. He said 13th.
Our quizmaster.
Yeah, the Quizmaster General. So some interesting choices you've got there. But you've got Arsenal winning the double, which if it ends up that way, it'll be a half decent season, and I'll be quite happy with that. So
ecstatic for that.
Yeah. Anything you got interesting planned to come up on your podcast before we go?
Well, there was a podcast whilst just ending as we were starting on my channel. Again, it's a new thing that we brought in this summer. Angela's in the chat. She's the hostess of that one, where it's going to be a weekly thing. Eventually, once the WSL Academy gets going, because basically that podcast itself is focusing on the women's team and the academies like the under 21s and Jack Wilshire's under 18s and all that throughout the season, and all that sort of stuff. Any updates on current transfers, or where they are in the league, how they're doing, who's standing out for the academy teams, who could be making upgrades sooner rather than later to the senior. That's going to be a weekly thing in the next couple of weeks or so once the seasons get underway, respectively. And then you have my podcast making a comeback as of next week. So as of next week, we have 2 podcasts a week coming your way in terms of as I said earlier, my one's going to be more focused on the men's side of things on a match day to match day basis, along with the Champions League watch on for the Arsenal men's team and the women's when they get underway back in October, and hopefully trying to sort out with Mike another quiz as soon as possible as well. And also I've got myself, Sam, and Mr. Tom doing who you had on before a few days ago, Tom. Doing a kit ranking show before the season starts, and basically where Sam's going to insult half the country basically along the way.
So that could be kit ranking or kit wanking. Both of them, I think you'd get decent numbers of people watching. There's some deviants out there who like football kits, so that's pretty good. Sounds like you're pretty busy. Who does all your JPEGs for the front of your videos? Who makes all them?
Most of them have been me, but like my podcast side of things, Colonel used to do them for me as well. Colonel was in the chat. He'll knock them up in batches and just send them to me in DMs. Yeah, literally whoever reaches out to me basically often. I was like, okay, and I'll give them a shout out and all that, and so this is who's doing it. But yeah, it's a mix of me, Colonel, or another person basically. Lovely.
Right, that's it then. So we've done all your predictions, and I don't think they're going to be too crazy. You're probably not going to win because Tom Canton picked Man City for everything, and quite frankly, you can't go far wrong with that.
Play it safe, Tom.
Yeah. So we said if his name's on it, he's doing it properly. So there's no heart with him; it is all head. So it probably means Tom's going to win it all. And that's it. So I think we're all done. If you'd like to say to the boys and girls, mums and dads, cats and dogs, before we go.
Yeah, see you later. Enjoy your season, and hopefully see a lot more of you during the season, guys. Thank you.
And if you want to find Ryan on Twitter, it's at Mr. Arsenal 89 because he's 89 years old when he set that up. Excellent. Right, Ryan, all we've got to do now is you give the boys and girls a little wave, say goodbye, and then I will end the show.
See you later.
As soon as I scored that goal, I was fucking livid. Get down, dog. Splendid business.
He nearly caught the bloody thing. What are you talking about?
So I've just eaten a full quiche. Well, you don't often see them at it. So when you see them in the supermarket, they need to be swagged, microwaved immediately, and get the brown sauce on and bosh, Bob's your uncle.
Never in